Joan Crawford's legacy included a great career and shocking secrets that her loved ones would be shocked to learn about in her estate. From disturbing finds in her possessions to shocking omissions in her will, the things they uncovered after her death will give you the willies. When Joan Crawford passed away in 1977, the entire world mourned the departure of a legendary Hollywood star. Her breakout roles were in Mildred Pierce and Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Crawford became famous, wealthy, and well-known, with an imperial family that has become the subject of heated debate. Although her on-screen character enthralled audiences, her private life was rife with secrecy, stress, and mysteries. After she passed away, shocking details about her estate became public knowledge. The reading of her will was particularly shocking to her children, who were embroiled in one of the most publicized inheritance battles in Hollywood. It wasn't the end of the surprises, though. The woman beneath the glitzy front remained shrouded in mystery as her private papers and antiques were hidden away in her palatial mansion. It was unsettling that some of these details revealed a side of Crawford that the public did not know existed. Rumors regarding the contents of her estate continue to haunt her friends and family even after all these years. Did she have anything important to conceal? Did her possessions reveal anything about her that she preferred to remain hidden? Why did her parting remarks spark an ongoing controversy? As we investigate the artifacts found in Joan Crawford's home, we may find out things that go against our assumptions about the Hollywood icon. Before you can unravel the secrets of Joan Crawford's estate, you must know her history. As Joan Crawford rose to popularity, her narrative is one of transformation, determination, and perseverance. She had a hard time escaping her impoverished background and worked her way up the Hollywood ladder to become a legendary star of the Golden Age. Her personal life was complicated and often acrimonious, though, beneath her immaculate veneer. The rise of Joan Crawford from adversity to success is one of the most interesting tales in Hollywood annals. Joan Crawford was born Lucille Fay Lesueur in San Antonio, Texas on March 23, 1904, though some sources place her birth year in 1905 or 1906. Her father abruptly abandoned the family shortly after she was born, leaving her mother, Annabelle Johnson, to raise her and her older brother alone. Henry Casson was a theater manager who her mother remarried after enduring a series of hardships. Lucille wanted to be a performer ever since she was a little girl and saw vaudeville acts at the theater her stepfather owned. However, her home life was far from idyllic. She went on to say that her stepfather molested her, which could explain why she's so cynical now. Financial constraints interrupted her early studies. To help support her family, she did odd jobs including laundromat work and waitressing. During these formative years, she cultivated a robust work ethic and an unyielding will to triumph against poverty. The only way out of Lucille's predicament was for her to dance. She left Missouri Stevens College to pursue a career in dance, but she did attend for a short time. Having begun her career in travel reviews, she moved to Kansas City and took a job with the chorus. When the Roaring Twenties rolled around, she hit the road for Chicago and New York, where she did nightclub and Broadway performances. She had a screen test with MGM after talent scouts were captivated by her personality and attractiveness. After signing a deal with the company and moving to Hollywood in 1925, her transformation from Lucille Lesueur to Joan Crawford got underway. After Lucille Lesueur arrived in Hollywood, the producers at MGM thought she needed a new, fancier name. Her stage name, Joan Crawford, was chosen in a fan competition. Although she initially disliked the moniker, she eventually came to accept it as part of her reinvention. In her early film roles, she often danced in the background or was a flapper, but her natural charisma and breathtaking beauty made her stand out. Her efforts were never-ending, working on her craft by enrolling in dance and acting programs. Her 1928 silent film Our Dancing Daughters, in which she played the archetypal jazz-era flapper, was her big break. Following the success of the picture, Crawford rose to the status of one of the most in-demand actresses of her day. When talkies came out, many silent cinema stars' careers declined, but Crawford didn't have any trouble adjusting. Before breaking into sound movies, she spent a lot of time working with vocal tutors to perfect her speaking. In the early 1930s, she became one of MGM's most famous actresses, appearing in films such as Sadie McKee, 1934, and Grand Hotel, 1932, alongside Greta Garbo and Sadie. The stereotype of the working-class woman who rises above adversity by sheer force of will and determination was one that she herself often embraced. During the Great Depression, her on-screen character spoke to many, particularly women who looked up to her as an exemplar. She had a spectacular acting career and a knack for playing strong, independent women who fought for equality. By the late 1930s, Crawford had risen to the status of one of Hollywood's highest-paid actresses. One of her numerous successful pictures, The Women, 1939, featured her as the crafty Crystal Allen. Competing with fellow MGM star Norma Shearer, she was the center of attention in the much-publicized casting call. Despite her achievements at work, her personal life was a train wreck. Actors Philip Terry, Frank Edwin, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. were her first three husbands, but all three of their marriages ended in divorce. There were 4 marriages to her. Although she adopted 4 children, Christopher, Christina, twin girls Kathy and Cindy, and Christopher, her parenting style would ultimately be one of the most controversial aspects of her legacy. Around the turn of the 1940s, Crawford went through a rough patch professionally. Her reputation took a hit after several of her films bombed at the box office. That year, 1938. In reaction, after nearly 20 years with the studio, MGM sacked her in 1943. But Crawford wasn't ready to fade into oblivion. Mildred Pierce, a 1945 noir picture about a dogged mother who builds a corporate empire to support her ungrateful daughter, was her breakout role after she signed with Warner Brothers. The part not only won her the Oscar for Best Actress, but it also revitalized her career. This success showcased Crawford's determination and ability to reinvent herself. Her subsequent roles in highly regarded films such as Sudden Fear, 1952, and Possessed, 1947, solidified her status as a Hollywood classic. As she got older, Crawford found it difficult to maintain her profession in a field that seemed preoccupied with youth. She grew into her roles and often portrayed powerful, troubled women. Johnny Guitar, a Western she starred in 1954, became a cult classic thanks to her powerful performance. After marrying Pepsi-Cola CEO Alfred Steele in 1955, she became a board member. After his death in 1959, she kept acting and was connected with the company. In the psychological horror film Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, she co-starred alongside Bette Davis. A surprising shift occurred in her career in 1962. While the film's popularity boosted her career, it also reignited her long-running quarrel with Davis, one of Hollywood's most famous rivals. The two actresses got into their notorious backstage brawls while filming, during which they insulted and undermined one another. In 1970, Crawford directed her last notable feature film, Trog, a low-budget horror film that was critically panned. She promptly stopped acting and stepped away from the limelight. As her health declined in her golden years, Crawford cut ties with the entertainment industry. Particularly following the 1974 release of a series of negative images, she withdrew. At the age of 73, she passed away on May 10, 1977, after suffering a heart attack. Her life's narrative was far from over. Christina Crawford's shocking memoir, Mommy Dearest, published in, detailed her mother's history of emotional and physical abuse at the hands of Crawford. There was debate regarding the book. There were those who believed Christina's claims and many who sided with Crawford. The 1981 film version, starring Faye Dunaway, cemented Crawford's image as a strict and obsessive mother and eclipsed her Hollywood achievements. Despite the debate, Joan Crawford's status as a film legend remains. She rose from humble beginnings to become one of Hollywood's most iconic figures, and she did it all by sheer force of will. Her influence on cinema, style, and the portrayal of powerful women continues to this day. Even in death, Joan Crawford remains an intriguing figure because she so methodically built her own reputation, which was then altered by those who were left behind. Joan Crawford was known for her modest and unremarkable lifestyle. Rumors about her violent temper and strained relationships, especially with her adoptive children, tarnished her reputation, despite her tremendous ambition and perfectionist streak. A disturbing picture of a controlling, abusive, and violent mother emerged in her daughter Christina Crawford's incendiary memoir, Mommy Dearest. After all the drama surrounding her, it's hardly shocking that her mansion had some shocking truths. Many people were familiar with Joan Crawford's will because it was read shortly after she died. The shocking decision by Crawford to not leave any inheritance to her 2 eldest adopted children, Christopher and Christina, startled many. Notably, the will stated, "It is my desire to make no provision hereunder for reasons which are well known to my son Christopher or my daughter Christina." This omission caused a sensation in Hollywood and became one of the most talked about inheritance disputes in history. The will was then challenged by Christina and Christopher, who claimed their mother had been forced to deny them inheritance. After a long legal battle, They were each awarded a $55,000 compensation, but the pain from this decision extended well beyond that. During her final years, Joan Crawford resided in a lavish apartment in New York City's Imperial Building. However, visitors to the building after her death discovered some disturbing artifacts. Among the most peculiar items found in Crawford's residence was a set of doll heads. Boxes held some, and shelves held others that were empty of corpses. This strange assortment fueled speculation about Crawford's interest in, or obsession with, perfection. Some have speculated that the doll head stood for dominance, a dark metaphor for the way she supposedly handled her children. Some of her personal papers included letters that raised more questions than they answered. Conflicts that she never disclosed in public were hinted at by some, although some contained enigmatic messages addressed to former partners. Also, Crawford may have had unfinished business with her daughter Christina, as there were unsent letters to her, even though they were estranged. Several of Crawford's closets allegedly had strange locks, which led investigators to believe that she was hiding something. Some have speculated that she may have concealed secrets, both real and imagined. One of the most unsettling things discovered in Joan Crawford's mansion following her death was the presence of locks on multiple rooms and closets. So many people started to worry what she was trying to hide because of it. This was no ordinary set of locks. Curious about what might be concealed behind them, they were often described as strange and overly cautious. Locked doors in the home of a Hollywood star are inherently mysterious, given Crawford's notorious penchant for control. It was believed that Crawford used these secure locations to hide sensitive information, such as personal possessions, documents, or even persons. For many who knew her troubled relationship with her adopted children and her reputation as a perfectionist, the locked rooms came to symbolize the psychological and physical isolation she supposedly imposed on her family. It was said that some of these chambers were reserved for contemplation. Perhaps contained treasures she preferred to keep hidden from prying eyes. The idea that some portions were off limits just added to the mystery surrounding Crawford's personal life, and her living quarters in particular were often described as being extraordinarily well kept. Crawford may have been hiding a far darker side behind her glamorous persona, and the sealed chambers only added fuel to the fire. Were there any psychological reasons behind the locks? Alternatively, were they merely a means to impose dominance? To this day, these enigmatic facets of Crawford's legacy remain some of its most perplexing and disturbing aspects. Of all the disturbing things found in her estate, the condition of Crawford's son Christopher's old bedroom was among the worst. People who went into the room noticed deep scratches on the inside of the door. Some thought Christopher had produced these scars while he was a kid, confined within. According to Christina's recounting of such events in Mommy Dearest, their mother often confined them as a means of discipline. The finding bolstered Christina's accusations of abuse against her mother, even though skeptics argue that the markings could have other origins. Another intriguing find was a hidden safe within the flat. Upon opening it, a plethora of financial documents, personal correspondence, and photographs were discovered within. The most shocking photos, though, were a series of monochrome shots that appeared to show Crawford in compromising or intimate poses. Her private life was more turbulent than she let on in a number of the photos. Furthermore, a handful of letters written by Hollywood heavy hitters hinted at unrevealed scandals and feuds. Our knowledge of their contents is limited due to the fact that numerous of these documents were allegedly destroyed or concealed by individuals responsible for the estate. Following the sale or donation of Crawford's belongings, rumors of haunting began to spread. Rumors of ghostly activity circulated after Joan Crawford's death, centered on her Los Angeles property in Brentwood. Multiple subsequent owners and visitors reported unexplained activity, leading some to believe that Crawford's ghost remained on the site. One of the more unsettling claims was made by a family who lived in the Brentwood house in the 1980s. Some of them claimed to have felt cold spots, heard unexplained noises, and witnessed objects move about on their own. Among the most horrifying reports were those involving whispers, disembodied voices, and the feeling of an invisible presence watching them. There were reports of spectral forms making their way around the halls, while others claimed to have overheard a woman sobbing in the middle of the night. Where Crawford's adoptive children once lived, the nursery, is the subject of the allegation. Unnerved me the most. Some visitors reported feeling a wave of melancholy wash over them the moment they entered the area, while others claimed to have heard muted sobbing coming from within. Visits to the residence by paranormal investigators raised the possibility that Crawford's troubled connection with her children left an impact. The mystery was further complicated by the fact that certain items from Crawford's estate that were put up for auction were linked to strange occurrences. Some customers felt that her collection's mirrors and furniture had an eerie vibe to them. An owner went so far as to say they caught a glimpse of a woman staring back at them in the mirror. Critics say these stories are just urban legends, but many people believe that Crawford's ghost or the energy of her troubled life is still with us. Whatever one's stance on the paranormal may be, the stories surrounding Joan Crawford's mansion add a chilling new depth to her mysterious legacy. Joan Crawford's mansion, like her life, was full of paradoxes. First, she was a glamorous Hollywood queen who worked very hard to maintain her image. But she also left behind evidence of her own troubles, secrets that were troubling, and broken relationships. All things considered, the findings in her estate, and especially her icy will, present a portrait of a strong but tormented woman. Her home's peculiar artifacts and shuttered doors, which hinted at concealed suffering. Whatever was found in Joan Crawford's mansion certainly added to the air of secrecy around her. She remains one of the most creepiest personalities in Hollywood, regardless of whether one believes the shocking accusations made by her children or dismisses them as exaggeration.